everybody. Welcome to Joy of Posting. I am your host, as opposed to someone else, Rachel Jane Andelman. And this is my show where I write jokes for an hour and talk to you in the chat, and we hang out, and it's a great time. Thank you all for coming. I believe, let me check the number on you all right now. 7 of you, thank you for coming. That's another show we have. Thank you for coming. It's literally another show. Hard not to say another show's name during mine when they are named like that. Yeah. So tonight is not a debate, not a presidential debate, not a vice presidential debate. So we have less to fear about thinking about those things or feeling like we need to keep track of what's going on while we are joking. Just sort of, we have our own, the normal traumas, nothing in particular traumatic besides everything that is typical. A few rules about this show. I'm going to open up, if you've never seen the show before, you're in for a treat, whatever that means to you. I'm going to open up a Google Doc, and I'm going to start writing some jokes for Twitter specifically, because that is where I like to post my work. I think Twitter is unusually, uniquely qualified to be a purveyor of one's comedic sensibilities. The brevity of that it requires, I think, often delivers the highest amount of comedy per unit, per content unit. And it's just somewhere I love to be. And I've been there. I mean, love is a strong word. It's also a hell place. But it's somewhere I have found rewarding to be, rather. And I've been on Twitter since 2008 because I'm an old witch. I've been there for 12 years, and I've been working on writing jokes in this format on this platform since that year. Let's see. The producers have told me that I should get, and that they will help me get, a second screen. Until that happens, I will be also checking the show on my phone. Hello, everyone. Great, we're up to 13. This is perfect. 13 is a perfectly reasonable and respectful number. Let me start to share my screen so we can get started. If you have any questions, I will be checking the chat on my phone. Again, second screen coming. All the money we make, feel free to follow and subscribe. The money we make on the channel right now is getting poured right back into the channel. We're gonna look nice. I'm gonna buy a tea stand. I'm gonna get a facelift so that you guys can enjoy me at my ideal angle, which is right here. But until then, I'm sagging. That's what a facelift is, right? It just makes your face higher wherever you go. So I will be opening my Google Doc. I'll be sharing my screen. I'll be opening my Google Doc. We'll be joking. And yeah, so this is just a fun way to spend your Wednesday for an hour or so. Yeah, any questions you have, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll try to keep abreast of them. Otherwise, I'm just going to write some jokes and kind of let you in as much as I can on my comedic process. Thinkertron, says, hello, I just beat Silent Hill 2, so I have some feelings. How are you? First of all, congratulations on finishing Silent Hill 2. I am sorry for what you were going through. I know that is a emotionally loaded video game. Some might say the most emotionally loaded video game, at least of the current era, or of its era, rather. But thank you. Maybe I'll write some Silent Hill jokes tonight to help sort of ease your particular specific burden. I am familiar with that game. So, or maybe we can just write some dark humor jokes in general. Last week, we did some spooky season jokes. We did some Halloween themed comedy. And I'm happy to stay sort of more or less in that lane, maybe like a double wide lane where we play with kind of the grim dark, or the grim, or like the sort of the there's a lot of like haunted manor, sort of what's that, gothic horror type of genre, and playing with that and its conventions. There's a lot to dig into, and there's a lot to joke about. So without further ado, I'm going to start to share my screen. Let's see how that goes. I always like to do this during the show so that everyone can feel the transition from the opening into the main body of the show. Now we are in it. we're in the show where I do the things I've said I will do. Hello. Loaf the Wonder Bread. I like hanging out on Wednesday evenings with you. I like hanging out, spending my Wednesdays with you too. Thank you so much for being here. Loaf the Wonder Bread, also known as Kat, if I may use your real name, is a delightful human being, and just a joy to hang out with several feet apart outside, as I have done. Thank you, Dr. V, for subscribing with Prime. Already, this has been a joyful night and worth getting out of bed for. Bebop says, I'm taking a loaf of sourdough out of the oven. Am I too stereotypically quarantined? I will say that anyone still baking at this point, I think, is a little bit ahead of the curve. I feel like most people started baking, baked for about 6 weeks, and then decided that was over. So the fact that you're baking sourdough in the depths of October, I think, is a testament to your will to survive and thrive in this environment. The Unready says 150% Zoom bold. The reason I work so big is because if you're watching this on your phone, as I tend to watch my Twitch shows on my phone, what I'm about to do would be unreadable unless everything were zoomed out hella large, as they say. Many people use hella, right? Again, I cannot emphasize enough that I am old like a witch you find in a bog. So yeah, let's make this big. Let's make this font real big. You guys can see that, right? Whoops! Somehow I created some sort of I asked to do something that was not writing a word. So we're gonna kind of get into it. Let's see. We're gonna start to write some jokes. It's spooky season. It's grimdark season. Netflix has a new show where a bunch of children give you cryptic instructions like "Don't leave your room at night," and then the beautiful actress playing the governess is like, "That kid, what fuck? Therapy, am I right?" And then they fall asleep and they wake up and there's fingers in their hair. There's always fingers in their hair. So again, Kit writes, could you make a joke related to TurboTax to tie in with making music with Kenny, which was amazing today. If you are not familiar with what Kit Tempest is referring to, earlier today, Kenny Gray, who is a friend of the show, myself, the producers, had his first show on our channel called Making Music with Kenny. Kenny is a historically excellent producer and musician. His show is about making a song. It ended up being a 2-hour show, but he made a song during those 2 hours that was fully produced from nothing. He began with nothing and ended with a fully produced song. It's extraordinarily good. If you go to our Twitter account, which you will, it's right here. You can see we retweeted his SoundCloud of his song. So I'm not going to make references going forward of what took place in that Twitch show, because I can't imagine we share more than 2 or 3 viewers who would get any sort of in-joke of that nature. Butts says it didn't even feel like 2 hours. It did feel like 2 hours to me, but I was very sleepy. Lynn says, hi Kit, we took Russian together like 10 years ago. What is life? That is spectacular. It's 9:12. Let's get to some joke writing. I will say, for those who are upset that this Google Doc remains blank at the time of 9:12, know that procrastinating is for me, a cherished part of the process. I love to procrastinate, and often my brain is helping me toward the destination, even if I'm not consciously aware of it. At least that's the hope. So let's write some jokes. So we're gonna go do some ghost jokes, sort of grim dark jokes. We're gonna name the category of jokes we'll be working on tonight. I think it's helpful to play within a certain category. Like, give yourself a sandbox, but like let it be relatively large. Just so that you feel neither pinned in nor have so many choices that you become paralyzed with opportunity. So we're going to just start with sort of just this vibe of like, what are things we associate with fear with a sort of prestige horror. That's actually probably what I'm looking for. Last week we did a lot of like black cats and jack-o'-lanterns, and it felt more like thrift store Halloween, thrift store horror. And now we're going to go for some prestige horror. This is sort of like this is like horror that has a will to bequeath, rather. Oh, hey, semiotics, zombie jokes. Zombie jokes are it's a well-tread path. I'm 13 minutes into a zombie movie right now. I don't know if I'll finish it. It's an Australian one called Cargo with the guy who plays Frodo. He's on the riverboat with his wife. I'm like, this is going to end bad. And sometimes I'm just like, can I finish this movie if I know it'll end bad? So horror movies ask the question, can you finish this movie if you know that it will end bad? It prepares you for reality where things go poorly, especially if you've forgotten to drink water. The horror dehydrated demographic is also the dehydrated people are horror films core demographic. So those who've watched the show before know that I'm a huge fan. At least lately, I feel like they have sort of crept into my joke writing in the last few months. But lately, I've been a huge fan of parentheses, of that last little sneaking statement, that little creeping idea that sort of helps finish the joke by introducing something as like sort of the most absurd part of the joke. You can kind of slip by. You can almost like denature it. You're sort of de-emphasizing it through the use of parens, which makes it kind of slip by sort of the mental ear of the reader. And I use them a lot, and I find them at this moment in time very effective. At some point, they will strike me as hack, but that day has not yet come. So for this one, I think this is pretty good. Horror movies ask the questions, can you finish the movie if you know that it will end badly? It prepares you for reality where things go poorly, especially if you've forgotten to drink water. Parens, dehydrated people are horror films' core demographic. I love that because it begins very banal. It's just like a banal. These are just like a series of banal insights. But then the banality leads you to sort of an absurd, which one might say that it is an unreasonable end in terms of the logic chain, but the logic chain feels the way it has been presented, it feels like a reasonable way to end this line of thinking. So it sort of, for feeling correct, we have set ourselves up to reach an absurd endpoint, which is humorous and hopefully delightful to those who read it. So we're going to tweet that right now, and there is the joke. And yeah, at the end, what I'll do is I am posting this on the 2MBs, the official Twitter of 2MB Studios, and then later I will use my account, which has a larger number of followers. I'll retweet the ones that I most enjoy, and then we'll see which one of those, if any, particularly thrive in the competitive Twitter environment. So that, I feel like, was a pretty good joke. I'm just going to go back to the comments and see what's going on down here. Again, I cannot emphasize enough that we will be getting 2 screens for me soon, so that I am staring at my phone less. Does the dog die? That's what I care about. There's like a lot of horror movie stuff in here. The parens. The idea of a theme or structure creeping into your jokes is so interesting to me. You're producing so much content that you have a lot of data to identify themes. I will often. I've recognized over time that there are certain structures of jokes that I trend toward because I find them the most satisfying, both to read and easiest to write or most enjoyable to write. I'll maybe try to do a couple of those examples tonight. So, for example, one type of joke I love to write is when you take a silly joke. I would call it a decoy joke. And then add that you supplement with the true joke or the terminal joke. So this is sort of like you sort of set yourself up to tell one type of joke, which is more familiar or is sort of trending toward the cliche. There's a lot of like language and there's a lot of tropes in the culture that we sort of recognize as being jokes to some people who may not have encountered them yet, but which we cannot personally experience as humor because we've heard it or seen it so much. So people on Twitter often, I think, find this experience where people on Facebook are just discovering jokes which they have already heard. And it's sort of this weird grading quality. And so I find it's sort of cathartic often to take these sort of cliche or trite jokes and then to treat them as the thing that we are then going to subvert with a second true, like this is the real joke. This is what we're going towards. So I'm going to try to see tonight if I can think of any of these. I've never tried to force myself to write a certain structure. I've always went to theme and then found the structure that fit the theme. So I'll see if I can write these tonight, but I'm not gonna force myself if it doesn't appear. For example, I would say that if I were to try to write one in the structure, the first thing I would do is think of things that people often make fun of, but which, for the fact that everyone makes fun of them, you would no longer consider a fresh joke. For example, sexy costumes are very, they sort of have the vibration of a joke, but they are so common and so already so well trod as a category of humor that for me this would be a decoy joke if I were to make a joke about sexy costumes. For example, I'm gonna see if I can do this. Again, I don't usually start with a structure. I usually start with a theme, but I'm going to try for the purposes of just experimenting whether I can force myself to write one in the structure sort of intentionally. So let's begin. Everyone is planning their sexy Halloween costumes. I'm thinking of going as something unsexy. I'm thinking of going as a sexy coffee cup or a sexy lamp, desk lamp. I'm thinking of going something. I'm thinking of really taking the trend further by going as a sexy coffee cup or a sexy desk lamp. These costume choices resonate with me, of course, because I am known to fuck these items. So this would be my attempt at writing a joke in the structure. You've all heard of sexy costumes. You're like, God, I bet people would go as sexy blank and then name something, categorically unsexy. And this person, you kind of take it back around by saying these these items are categorically used for sex in the world of the narrator. So you've brought it right back around to being sexy, literally fornicating with these things. So I think this is like a fun way of subverting this particular trope. Bebop says, "LOL, holy shit!" Thank you, Bebop. Dan McClory says, "American coffee cup." I don't cuss too often on this on the official Twitter of the Twitch channel, but for this one, I think it earns the fuck. I think it earns the cuss. So I'm just gonna read it over one more time. Usually for language and spelling, and if I've used the same word, sometimes I'll reread a tweet and I've realized I've used the same word 5 times, and I'm like, I should either shorten that or switch up the diction. And otherwise just making sure it makes sense. So everyone is planning their sexy Halloween costumes. I'm thinking of having some fun with it by going as something like a sexy coffee cup or a sexy desk lamp. These costume choices resonate with me, of course, because I am known, because I am popularly known to fuck these items. So I feel like that is a pretty strong joke. I'm pretty happy with it. It feels like it plays just as I read it out loud and think about it again out loud. So I'm going to tweet that out. And there goes the tweet. Cool. So let's go back to the drawing board, as I say right now. Ready and Ready says, "I was wondering how you'd land that plane. That was awesome. Thank you." One way of landing a plane, or the one way I think about jokes is something that I've taken from improv, which is like everything you have is already there. People often say in improv, the first like 5 or 10 or 20 seconds of an improv scene really do kind of dictate at least the emotional tone, or kind of the trajectory at least of the rest of the scene. It's like incredibly important what happens in the first 5 or 10 seconds of a scene. You can really get most of what you need from those few moments, and I try to treat jokes like that. I'm like, sexy and sex, not to be too blue, but if we are working in the realm of sex, it should maybe probably come back to sex, or just taking inspiration from an earlier sentence. You're like, where do I go? And I'm like, any way I can like loop around to the meaning or theme or idea that's presented in the first initial thought will make the joke feel like modular and make it feel satisfying. So let's do another one. So let me see if I can do another one of these. Sexy costumes was a fun one to write. I felt pretty satisfied with that. I'm trying to think of other other kind of Halloween-y tropes, or other kind of ghost tropes, or things that we consider like sort of humor, but sort of stale humor or trite humor that would present a good opportunity to employ that joke or idea as a decoy joke. Cool. So let's see. I'm trying to think of some right now. So zombies probably actually are a good place to start with, because I feel like there's a lot of like trite or conventional zombie humor that we're already sort of bored by. So we can kind of go into them. People always say about ailing whenever someone looks bad. Trying to think. There's like a joke about how people are the kind of person who would be bitten and not tell anyone. There's a kind of person you can tell would be bitten by a zombie and not tell anyone. This is sort of an archetype I encounter a lot when you're reading jokes that are addressing sort of various horror tropes or horror ideas. There's a kind of person you can tell would be bitten by a zombie and not tell anyone. Actually, what we're going to do is I think I'm going to play with this idea of I'm going to try doing a pattern joke just because I feel like we've set up an opportunity to do a pattern joke. So last week I did a fun one with a cat. I wrote a pretty good cat joke. That was sort of it was like black cats are considered what's the word? Unlucky. Yellow cats are considered unmarketable. Cats with snorkels are considered underwater. And I actually really love that joke. It was probably my favorite joke that I wrote last week. So I think that this actually lends itself better. I know I was trying to write this type, but we're actually going to try a pattern joke where we kind of just repeat the pattern until we can get somewhere weird or more interesting. So there's a kind of person you can tell would be bitten by a zombie and not tell anyone. There's a kind of, we're going to just change it to a person or guy, kind of person. We're going to just shorten this a little bit. Who would be bitten by a zombie and not tell anyone. There's a kind of person who would be bitten by a zombie and not shut up about it. There's a kind of person who would be bitten by a zombie and make it their whole personality. There's a kind of person who would subtweet that bitten person. I don't care. Lynn writes, I'm leaving, but only because I'm too tired for comedy. Please do not count this among your personal failures of the day. The stream is very good. Thank you, Lynn. That's very sweet. Dan McClory mentions calling Halloween the spoopy season. Yeah, we definitely should do one about the spoopy season. I will feel a little bad because sometimes when you're working with trite or silly jokes, you know that there are friends of yours or acquaintances who still enjoy them as jokes. And you just have to let that go. You're just if you feel offended by this joke, I'm very sorry, but I must address this joke as I experience it and it's not as a fresh one. There's a kind of person who would be bitten by a zombie and not tell anyone. There's a kind of person who would be bitten by a zombie and not shut up about it. There's a kind of person who would be bitten by a zombie and make it their whole personality. The personality should also be capitalized. There's a kind of person who would subtweet that person who got bitten. I'm just saying, you have other hobbies. Saying to get other hobbies. Thinkertron writes, I like ending jokes in commas sometimes because it implies there is or should be more to a tweet that will never come. I've seen that done effectively. I would contend that that's almost like a style of tweet that I feel has gone in and out of fashion. You don't have to listen to me or notions of fashion. But in my particular sensibility sort of directs me toward avoiding that because it feels like it's sort of it's a little bit outmoded or not in style. But definitely if you feel we all have to follow our own sensibilities. If that feels like it works for you and that you're happy with those jokes, definitely continue doing that. We don't have to be in fashion. I just have to follow my nose on these things, and my particular nose smells something and I lead with it and I follow it, and that's how part of how my humor ends up kind of manifesting. There's a kind of person who I don't like how long there's a kind of person is, so we might be you know that guy who, we're gonna change it to Hood. who'd be bitten by a zombie and not tell anyone. I think who'd helps tie it up a little bit neater. You know that guy who'd be bitten by a zombie and not shut up about it. You know that guy. That guide who'd be bitten by a zombie and make it their whole personality. You know that guy who'd subtweet that person. That's me. I do like this idea. I do like starting to just start yelling at the end of a joke, where this sort of pretense of impartiality or sort of at least a third person, sort of a writerly remove sort of breaks down. I always think that's kind of fun. So I don't, this does require using the notion of a subtweet, which I try not to use like Twitter minutia and Twitter specific reference in my jokes. I just feel like it makes them less resonant overall. But for this particular one, I think it's where this joke led me, and this is where it kind of helped me end up. So I'm going to keep it. So you know that guy who'd be bitten by a zombie and not tell anyone. You know that guy who'd be bitten by a zombie and not shut up about it. You know that guy who'd be bitten by a zombie and make it their whole personality. You know that guy who'd subtweet that person, who'd subtweet that other guy. And that's me. Just like being really annoyed that there's a guy who got bitten by a zombie and now it's like their whole thing. Yeah, I just also like zombies are so weird. There's like certain mythos of zombies where you're a monster and like an unthinking monster where you're basically dead and there's like a ghoul in your place. Then there's like variations of zombies where there's like you're kind of still there, you're like a little still in charge, and then there's like variations of zombies where you have a personality but also you're dead, and it's like you're more like a vampire, but it's more like vampire rules, but you're still technically a zombie. So for me, like when you go into writing a joke about being zombies, it's fun to play with that spectrum, because I think that those variations of what a zombie means are all on the table. Like if people have seen a movie where you become a zombie, but you can still play a video game, I think that's like Shaun of the Dead rules. Like you can still do these kind of mundane tasks. Then like all of that is for the taking. That's all there to reference and to sort of allude to. Santa Clarita Diet. I've never seen that, but I have heard that that's like zombie light or like zombie adjacent. So I probably should get on that at some point. Games with Goat says hard to keep track of all the kinds of zombies. That's true. There are. We're going to say it. I use like the collective pronouns when I tweet from the main account, just because I think there's an assumption when you have like an official account that many different people either use that account or that the account sort of represents many people. So we, our, those are the pronouns I tend toward using. We're, so like we're sick, sort of, ever go into, so earlier today or the other day, I heard someone make either a reference to an actual Dennis Leary routine or make fun of a Dennis Leary routine where it's like he's like angry that there's like different flavors of coffee. He's like, back in my day, coffee was just coffee flavored, which I love. I love that kind of like fucking older white guy, like, the world's too complicated. There's too many types of soap. Back in my day, when men were men and women laid there, this whole category of anger driven thinking. That's all very easily parodiable. So we're gonna go for that. We're gonna go for a little bit of because it just occurred to me. We're gonna go a little bit of making fun of a Dennis Leary-esque routine. Ever go into a coffee shop and the barista asks you which kind of zombie you prefer in your media, in your films and books? Sir, would you prefer a running zombie? A zombie that can still think? I lean over the counter and I tell him, "Listen, lady." He always wants to start with a "listen, lady." "Listen, lady, back in my day, zombies acted like zombies, and we all knew what that freaking meant. Now I want a French roast. Now, give me my French roast with caramel, with a soup con of caramel." I'm not fancy enough to really lean into the fanciness of the order that I want to end on. I don't know enough about coffee. Games with Goat says, hard to keep track of all the kinds of zombies. Al Bebop says, love that you use voices while you write. Yeah, I do, especially for this show, when I'm writing literally out loud. It's fun to lean into the different ideas of the characters, especially if you're making fun of a kind of person in particular. And reading them out loud just gives me like a little bit of sense of cadence and language ideas for language to use. You're like, oh, now that I'm speaking in this voice, now this word seems more right, or this like turn of phrase seems like it's back on the table or off the table. So voices are great for that. So obviously this is too long by a lot. I've been writing longer jokes tonight. This doesn't always happen to me. So I'm just going to reread it and see if I can shorten it. This is, again, why Twitter is so great for jokes, because the show probably can be told in fewer characters. And now we have the opportunity to make the joke as brief as it requires to be. Ever go into a coffee shop and the barista asks you which kind of zombie you prefer in your films and books, sir? Would you like a running zombie? Ascension zombie? So we can already I lean over the counter and tell him, listen, lady, back in my day, zombies acted like zombies. Now, give me my caramel latte. And then we're going to change this a little bit. I'm going to just find different ways to make this a little bit shorter and more brief. I go into coffee shops now, and baristas. What's wonderful about Twitter is that if you just start to fiddle, everything sort of magically gets shorter. I like that a lot. I go into coffee shops now, and baristas ask me which kind of zombies I prefer in my books and films. Sir, would you like a running zombie? Ascension zombie? I lean over the counter and I tell him, listen, lady, back in my day, zombies were zombies. Now give me, give me my caramel latte. Let's see. Is that? It's It's right on the line for length. I go into coffee shops now. We're gonna cheat. Always the first thing that always goes can go is ands can turn into ampersands. That's a real quick fix. I go into coffee shops now, and Bruce has asked me which kind of zombie I prefer in my films and books. Sir, would you like a running zombie, a sentient zombie? I lean over the counter. I tell him, listen, lady, back in my day, it's always a woman they're yelling at. Listen, lady, back in my day, zombies acted like zombies. Now give me my caramel latte. And that one's good. That one's done. Kat has usefully told me that I forgot a like anyway, we'll keep going. One thing that happens on this show is I'll spend like 20 minutes on one joke and then I'll write another joke in like 10 seconds, and that's the one everybody likes. So I'm always like mentally tracking, like, am I spending too long on any joke in particular? Cool. How are you guys doing? Are you guys having a good time? I hope you are. Wow. The time seems to be flying by. Bustle Butts says, never read the dialogue in your tweets and voices before. Now I'm going to find it impossible not to do that. You'll find it possible tomorrow. You'll forget everything. You'll forget the voices, I'm sure. You just need to like kind of shake your head a little bit. Let's do a couple more. What else is funny? Hate it when old creepy mansions have big, heavy door knockers that briefly look like my deceased law partner's face. Buttsel Butt says, I mean, it's okay. It probably just adds to the quality. I really hope so. I hope watching this does not diminish the quality of my tweets to anybody. Hate it when old creepy mansions have big heavy door knockers that briefly look like my deceased law partner's face. That's why I carry a handkerchief. I'm like, if you've got a door knocker, I am gonna cover that motherfucker. Hate it when old creepy mansions have big heavy door knockers that briefly look like my deceased law partner. That's why whenever I approach one, I always yell, better not be a face, before roundhouse kicking the door open. Can't be too careful in 19th century England. This is dumb. Obviously the creepy mansion, the door knocker, I think is a specific reference to Christmas Carol. I don't know if that is actually like a trope that exists in other media that's not like directly referencing that. That's one of the things about tropes, is like sometimes a trope is just a thing that one movie or book did or play did, and then everyone else is just taking off of it. So it's not like a organic trope because it's all referential, but we still sort of process it as if it's an organic trope that sort of has spread and become its own thing. And so for that reason, you can kind of use it, even if it's really only in reference to one piece of media. I'm going to just read it over. Hate it when old creepy mansions have big heavy door knockers that briefly look like my deceased law partner's face. That's why whenever I approach one, I always yell, better not be a face, before roundhouse kicking the door open. Can't be too careful in 19th century England. Well, that one feels pretty good. Cool. Hope you guys are having a good time. As I'm getting set to write another joke, I would love to mention for those in the audience a couple of items. First of all, hey, I'm screen sharing. Why don't I just screen share what I'm about to tell you about? So for one thing we wanted to mention on my show is that we're coming up in the world, you guys. We actually have a partnership with a company, with a business, and that business is 3 Weeks Courses. And so 3 Weeks Courses is a website where you can get really amazing, wonderful instructors teaching great classes. They are 3 weeks each because we know that we are living in distressing, traumatizing times, and 3 weeks is probably as much as anyone can commit to right now. But you can learn a bunch of really cool new stuff. All the instructors, I think I basically know everybody, and they're all wonderful, terrific people, and they all know their shit. So definitely check them out and tell them that you heard about them from us when you're in the drop-down menu, because then we get a couple of bucks, and that's pretty cool. And they're the kind of the first people I was like, we need to partner with them because they're so awesome. So if you're in the mood to learn playwriting or finance or how to, D&D, have like a really awesome like D&D session using the tenets of improv, feel free to go to 3weeks.courses. So easy to remember. It's literally impossible to forget. Cool. I like that the only ad breaks on 2MB are ad breaks for companies full of our friends, keeping it in the fam. Take that, Squarespace. Yeah, take it, Squarespace. Squarespace is like, yeah, we wouldn't partner with you. You're too small. But yeah, I think that it's like funny, right? It's like none of us thought we'd be here. None of us thought we'd be doing any of this. None of us were thinking, oh yeah, let's all like have to be forced to start our own ventures. And so as long as we're doing this, we might as well, work together. There's like no reason not to. And like personally for me, I'm very familiar with and comfortable with like live theater, and our old theater hopefully it comes back, but its model was like shows and classes, and so we do shows, they do classes. I'm like, this makes sense to me in my head, in my brain. This seems to be a natural fit, a natural relationship. So yeah, take some classes, guys. They're supposed to, I think they're going to be pretty cool. Cool. Let's do some more jokes. I did Black Cats last week, so I can't do those. I'm trying to think of things I haven't already made jokes about. One thing I like to do on my Twitter is I'll be like, I wonder how many jokes I've made about milk, or like that included the word milk. And because I've been on Twitter for 12 years, it is just like, oh, here's all of your milk jokes. And you're like, wow, I've really, really, really run that through the meat grinder. Abyssal Butts has made like a little a thing, a little octopus person. It did not look like it fit together when I was looking at it from the horizontal, but when I made it vertical, it looks really cool. Or milk it, as you might say. Absolutely, one might say that. So let's do some more stuff. Other conventions of Halloween or spooky season. Ghost children, ghost creepy children, Caspers, as I call them. I think I did write a joke about Caspers are like the mattress company is filled with the ghosts of children. That's why they're called Casper. So we don't have to go back there. The Ring. I'm a perpetual fan of The Ring. I love that movie. I haven't seen the other movies. I've heard they're not as good, but I love that movie. Everything about it. I just love the mythology. I'm sorry. I just ate some whipped cream cheese off my finger. I'm sorry. This quarantine's been a long time. I definitely would have done that in the before times as well. It's just an open container next to me, and I felt impulsive. Let's see what else. The others, haven't seen it yet. I need to see it. I already know the twist at the end. The twist seems like something you could have figured out, but it sounds like a lovely film. Haunted Hayrides. I've never are there haunted hayrides? I've never heard of that. I don't go to a lot of like in the before times. I didn't go to like a lot of haunted houses and stuff. I've seen a lot of improv scenes in haunted houses. I feel like most of my experience, like life experiences, are like, yeah, I saw someone do a scene there once. It's so sad. But yeah, I've seen a lot of like scenes in like romantic cabins. I've seen a lot of folks doing scenes of being on their honeymoons. So, I think the hardest. So if I were, I'm not particularly familiar with the concept of haunted hayrides and haunted corn mazes. Although you guys tell me that's a thing. Haunted hayrides, especially big in the Midwest. I don't think I've ever been to the Midwest. If we ever get a vaccine, I'm going to do more traveling. I think the hardest, if I were to write a joke about haunted corn mazes, I think that it would sound like the hardest part about being in a haunted corn maze is the knowledge that all the ghosts were once people who thought they could eat as much corn as they wanted with no ill effects. They could put let me check it just so it's a bit more ridiculous. They thought they could put as many corn cobs in their mouth. Could put as many corn cobs in their mouth at the same time as they felt like. The hardest part about being in a haunted corn maze is the knowledge that all the ghosts were once people who thought they could put as many corn cobs in their mouth. Could put could put several corn cobs in their mouth at the same time. Were once people who thought they could. So right now I'm sort of like, I feel like I'm on the edge of a good joke. I don't feel like I'm there yet. So if you have the patience and you want to watch with me, I'm going to try to fix this or help transcend its current state toward like a punchline that I'm really happy with. Cool. So the hardest part about being in a haunted corn maze is the knowledge that all the ghosts were once people who thought it would be very easy to go back to fucking and be like, who thought they could fuck as much corn as they wanted. They all died from fucking, they fucked corn until they died. What a weird joke. Maybe a crop circle joke. For once people who thought they could you could actually I actually don't feel like I have a good punchline like at the ready, and I don't want to spend all show on this joke. One thing I like to tell people is that you should never spend for Twitter, for online, you shouldn't really spend, more than 5, at the most 10 minutes on any joke, because it's such a short format that at a certain point you just have to accept that the elements to help you reach the great joke are not there, or to be more specific, you're more likely to find a great joke if you just keep going. But Slowbutt says, make it prompt and 2MB fans can do all a different punchline. Games with Goat says, imagine putting a bunch of corn cobs in your mouth and getting away with it scot-free. That's very funny. I do like the idea of death by corn cob. I feel like there's something about popcorn there, and like try to make popcorn with their mouth full of corn cobs. But at a certain point, like, as funny as the image is in one's mind, if it gets too contrived or too complicated to explain in words, it's not worth it, and people won't go there with you. So it's best, I feel, to move on. Let's see a couple of more. I want to do some more like creepy children jokes. I feel like that's like a very much of a convention in in like kind of highbrow prestige horror. I can do like a Rebecca joke. Rebecca jokes I feel like are a little bit more topical because that new Rebecca um, adaptation is coming out on Netflix. The worst part about being your mysterious husband's second wife is that everyone is still obsessed with Rebecca. Is the vagueness of corncob-related deaths funny? I would say no, or it doesn't hit me yet. I feel like in improv, specificity is very good, and also in joke writing, specificity is good. Potentially useful idea, the phrase eat/fuck. I do like to eat/fuck the corn. Actually, I like one thing I like is Games with Goat says without any consequences. It's getting away with it scot free. So you thought they could eat fuck as much corn as they wanted and get off scot free. I think that's actually fun. Like this idea that they could have died from eating the corn, eating too much corn, or fucking too much corn, but the sequence of events is kind of up to the imagination of the reader. That I think is actually very good. This one strikes me as sort of a well-made ending or a well-made punchline. So I'm just gonna throw this in here. Thank you all for helping me eat fucking. No need. No need to be more vulgar than necessary to get one's point across. The hardest part about being in a haunted corn maze is the knowledge that all the ghosts were once people who thought they could eat and or fuck as much corn as they wanted and get off scot-free. Rest in peace, those corn fuckers. Cool. That one, I'm happy we found the end for that one. Sorry, 8 fuck. Gotta keep the tense right. Butts gets it. Butts, you are a true angel. And a credit to the comments section of this show. Let's keep going. The worst part about being your mysterious husband's second wife is that everyone is still obsessed with his first wife. I'm trying to think of, I have an idea, but I'm trying to think of how to phrase it. Simply because she was an unearthly beauty and also had incredible, is it tricks? Is it like, when you say you do skateboard tricks, also could do incredible tricks on her skateboard. The worst part about being your mysterious husband's second wife is that everyone is still obsessed with his departed first wife. First wife. Second part about being your mysterious husband's second wife is that everyone's still obsessed with his departed first wife, simply because she was an unearthly beauty who was capable of incredible skateboard tricks. Who could do sick ollies. For example, freaking sweet ollies. Yeah, I love this idea. Rebecca is like I think is a pretty pulpy, it's like a ripe topic. Not just because, like, first of all, that it's like obviously the Netflix adaptation, the new one, is going to kind of bring it back to the consciousness. Everyone sort of is vaguely aware of it. I've seen the old movie. I think a lot of people haven't, but they're all like, yeah, I kind of get it. It's kind of like this creepy rich guy, dead wife, something's wrong. And it's also like one of the forebears of like our notions of gothic horror. So it's fun to play with. I think it's Hitchcock. 3 Flip Back Smith. We don't want to get too technical. I have played Tony Hawk, but it's been a while. My ex-boyfriend's like, this is one of my favorite games, and I'm like, I keep falling. The worst part about being your mysterious husband's second wife is that everyone's still obsessed with his departed first wife simply because of her unearthly beauty and ability to execute huge skateboard moves. For example, including sliding down the grand staircase banister. If you've seen Rebecca, you know that there's like a big dramatic moment regarding like her coming down the banister, the grand staircase in Rebecca's dress, and he gets all mad. So like to bring the specific imagery of the staircase and making it like a site of like 6 skateboard moves for me is very funny. So we're gonna tweet that out. Cool. So yeah, let's do a few more. We have a little bit of time, and I'm not totally exhausted. In previous iterations of this show, my voice, to be honest, has completely given out in the middle, and I've really struggled. But I feel like for whatever particular reason, maybe my body's just adapting to the new now. I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job remaining vocally capacitated. So we'll do a few more. Let's see. What else can we joke about? Kickflip McTwist. Yeah, I'm thinking of Tony Hawk. I'm like, I'm bad at every video game I ever try. Let's see, some more stuff. I still haven't written like a great creepy child joke. Sometimes it's very weird. Sometimes like my brain will like hover, like orbit around certain ideas. Like I'm like, haven't written a creepy kid joke. Where's your creepy kid joke? You're thinking about those creepy kids. Where's the joke, Rachel? Why haven't you ever addressed it in the form of humor? Elisa says farming. I don't know what that means. Do you want me to write a farming joke? Farming joke? I don't know what's funny about farming. Farming is just I don't know anything. Farming is very important. Some would say that the downfall of man is when we transition from a hunter-gatherer society to an agricultural society. And I often wonder if that's true, because I would not mind hanging under a tree eating berries and not having complicated neurotic thoughts about the future of fracking. This seems like this seems unnecessary. A lot of what occupies the human race feels like problems that we made up for ourselves. Now, are you dead at 30? Maybe. But also, wouldn't it be pleasant to not have to worry about elections? And, Elon Musk would never be a phrase you'd have to say. Ugh. Hate that stupid guy. Ugh. Let's see. Halloween jokes, guys. Halloween sucks this year because you know that Elon Musk is probably driving his weird clunky future car through patches of pumpkins, just smoking a blunt and telling Grimes all the decibel places of pie he knows. It's such a dumb joke. This is just like a very specific resentment towards Elon Musk and nothing else. I do love Grimes' music. Like, no matter how dumb the situation or scenario gets. But says, at this point, we just got to keep pushing forward until we're heads into streaming farming games. Correct. Alice says, I really appreciate Decibel Places. To see Elon's Joe Rogan blunt smoking face when you say that. I think we can all see in our mind's eye Elon Musk's blunt smoking face. It's really like it's a beautiful anchor for all the anger you feel. Like, this guy's so fucking stupid and bad. It's just like a beautiful glue to hold all of those feelings together. Just that his stupid dumb face. So just to reread it before we post it, Halloween sucks this year because Elon Musk is probably driving his weird clunky future car, his weird changing clunky to blocky because it's more blocky than clunky. I'm sure it turns well. Elon Musk is probably driving his weird blocky future car. Future car can probably be one word, or can it? I don't know. Sometimes it's fun to make two words into one word, but then you're like, no one will know what I'm trying to say. Like, it doesn't look like either of the words. So sometimes that's fun and sometimes it's not. Driving his weird blocky future car through patches of pumpkins, through pumpkin patches probably, the less contrived way of saying that. Through pumpkin patches, just smoking a blunt and telling Grimes all the decibel places of pie he knows. I hate him. Oh, decibel. Oh, yeah, I did decibel instead of decimal, didn't I? This is one of those things where, like, I usually don't delete and retweet something, but decibel and decimal are like meaningfully different words. They do mean different things. So thank you for pointing that out. I will just rewrite that. Decimal. It's funny when you say, when you're like, I'm not stupid, am I? Then why would I not notice that? Like, I know what those two words mean. Alice says, I appreciate it. It seems like kind of sports balling on the knowledge. That's true. Now I regret changing it. Anyways, this tweet was probably weird enough. It didn't need like the hidden weirdnesses of like a misspelled word. It didn't need like another like layer of oddity. Going to dress up as Ziggy Stardust this year, and I'm gonna dress up as David Bowie this year. I don't have a joke for this. Sometimes I just write a phrase or an idea and see if I can keep going. And often what happens is that you reach the end of that idea and I'm like, I don't have any more. Dan McClory says, gotta delete and repost. Yeah, let's see if other things. Again, creepy kids. Haven't written a creepy kids joke yet. Where's the creepy kids joke, Rachel? You keep thinking of those kids. None of this is for Twitter. This is just for me. This is the way I yell at myself. Here we go. Okay. Creepy. Twins love to be murdered and then haunt the ends of hallways in their party dresses. I have not done Spoopy yet. Where did Spoopy come from? I know exactly like one person in my life who would like use that unironically, and it's very strange. Like who looked at the word spooky and it's like, this needs to be a dumber sounding word. Butts says, something about spoopy is just nails on a chalkboard to read. It is very unpleasant. It feels like one of those things that's like someone everyone's, I think at this point, has read that like Quora answer to the person that's like, how can I get the people, like I go door to door trying to tell people about Jesus and no one will like talk to me, and someone answered like, of course you're not supposed to actually convert people this way. This is just how an in-group finds ways of creating closeness through feeling alienated by others or alienating others. And Spoopy feels that way. Spoopy feels like the door-to-door, like the Jesus salesman type, where it's like Spoopy is designed to alienate members of the out group to create closeness within the in group, and that's what Spoopy sort of strikes me as a way to like again like foment a community of a very particular kind. Kat says, Spoopy makes me think of cute spooky. That's true. It's, I guess you could think of it as a cute spooky spectrum. But let me finish this creepy kids joke, because I am not going to let myself sleep until nothing will keep me up at night thinking about how I never gave it to those creepy murdered kids. Let's do it. Twins love to be murdered and then haunt the ends of hallways in their party dresses. It's, if you're not a twin, you can't understand. There's just something, it's part of twin culture, like pretending to be Jessica when you're Elizabeth, or being evil when you're, or being kept in the attic for 10 years because you're evil and then seeking revenge. Kit writes, Spoopy first appeared online in 2009. A picture posted by Flickr user ClickFarmer. That sounds like a real person. Taken at a Ross department store. This picture featured a Halloween decoration that misspelled spooky as spoopy. I see. So it has some sort of like real world physical manifestation at its source. That's interesting. I didn't know that. But I feel like everything I said still applies regardless of the source of it. Twins love to get murdered and then haunt the ends of hallways in their party dresses. If you're not a twin, you can't understand. It's part of twin culture, like to be pretending to be Jessica when you're Elizabeth. I feel like because the beginning of this joke begins so dark, going dark at the end isn't as effective. So I'm trying to think of another like cute, sweet, inappropriately specific example of twin culture. Twins love to be murdered and then haunt the ends of hallways in their party dresses. If you're not a twin, you can't understand. It's part of twin culture, like pretending to be Jessica when you're Elizabeth, or becoming water and then an animal. Becoming water while your sister becomes a warrior. Warrior beast. Becomes a warrior animal. I like warrior animal. It's like, I don't think that's like a real phrase or a real common phrase. Or pretending to be Elizabeth when you're Jessica. Sweet Valley, hi. Right, cool. As you see, as we go back to Twitter, a lot of the tweets we've been posting have already gotten some likes. People seem to be enjoying them. That's fun. That's nice. 2MB doesn't have a huge number of followers, so the fact that of the followers we have, there's already some feedback and there's some recognition is kind of nice to see. It means I think that at least some people are appreciating them. So let me just read this one more time. Twins love to be murdered and then haunt the ends of hallways in their party dresses. If you're not a twin, you can't understand. It's part of twin culture. Like pretending to be Jessica when you're Elizabeth, or becoming water while your sister becomes a warrior animal. So that feels pretty good to me. Cool. So we're at 10:17. So I think I'm gonna write one more joke, and then we'll probably call it for the night. Thank you all for watching this feed. If you've been enjoying yourself, feel free to even be encouraged to follow and subscribe. Subscription obviously helps us do things. Money we make for the channel right now is going back into the channel so that I can get for example, a second monitor so that I can like look at the comments without bowing my head. Right now I'm bowing my head because I'm reading your comments on my phone that's perched on my thigh. That's how I'm reading your comments. So if you'd like me to, gracefully move between your comments and the work I'm doing, feel free to subscribe to the channel and help make some improvements possible. And obviously following just means that you get the notifications for all our other great programming. We have programming shows, several shows every single day, 7 days a week. I think we're up to like 19 or 20 shows. It's amazing. People have been so creative and so inspiring during this horrible time, often defined by its body count, that people, like still like being in sort of a creative, joyful space, I think is really wonderful. That space is even still possible. So definitely follow, subscribe, support the channel, watch the other shows. We have 69 minutes of Sex with Me this Friday. We have a really great lineup that I booked. Britt Mitchell is guest appearing, and she's wonderful. So definitely, if you like your dirty jokes, watch that. That's this Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or Eastern Daylight Time, depending on what time of year you watch this recording. Cool. So let me see if I can write one quick joke to end us off. Thinkertron says, I love the show. Thank you, Thinkertron. I love your comments. Alice says, wow, this results in so much more enjoyment per tweet than just reading a funny tweet. What a brilliant show idea. Thank you so much, Alice. People have asked me where the idea for this show has come from. Basically, I was doing sort of a Twitter recap show, and it was very production heavy, and I felt that it was like burdensome in its amount of work. And I thought, what is an easier show to put on every week? And I fell upon this idea because while I was still a theater person, you could often center shows around what's it called when you are very good at something, when you have a God, I'm forgetting the word. When you're but I'm forgetting it. You're like, oh, I have this particular skill. I have this particular thing I can do. I can sing on the spot. I can rap on the spot. And you can build a whole show around that. And so I'm like, I can write jokes for an hour and talk about my process. And it's sort of virtuosic. Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. You're welcome, Rachel. It's a virtuosic skill. I'm not good at that much. I'm not very good at many different things, but I'm good at this. I feel I'm good at this particular thing. So it's fun to share that with everybody here. Alice says, not a paid chill. Thinkertron just convinced me to watch finally. Thank you so much, Thinkertron. Thank you for bringing your friend Alice here. I really appreciate that you're both watching. I know that in this world of ours, there are almost unlimited entertainment and education options. So thank you for watching this show right now. And we're going to end with a stupid joke that I write right now in 10 seconds so that I don't keep up Matt, our tech, much more longer than he needs to be. Matt texts most of our shows because he's an angel on this earth. So let's do exactly one more. The creepiest thing at Halloween is when people dress up in those body suits with that make them look like skeletons walking in the dark. There is nothing more when people dress up and are walking around dressed up in those bodysuits that make them look like skeletons in the dark. There's nothing more creepy than there's nothing more unsettling rather than the notion of skeletons that are extroverts. Walking outside dressed up in those white. So I don't know if this reference is obvious or like intuitive to other people. I've seen these bodysuits sold a lot, especially like in Facebook ads. So they're what I think of, and that's what will close the show. So yeah, guys, that's been it's 10:22, so I've been writing jokes for about 82 minutes or plus or minus. But I just want to say one more time how grateful I am that you've chosen 2MB Studios to watch on this particular night. And I hope that you choose it again on other nights. How much I've enjoyed writing jokes for your amusement or confusion, whichever one you ended up landing on. We have entertainment options. We have shows all week long. We've worked very hard to bring you quality content in these very dumb times. And otherwise, again, feel free to like and subscribe. Check out 3weeks.courses. And yeah, and have a wonderful, perfect night and sleep well. Good night.